Okay, so let's get started. So why use the import-export features in RMS? Well, the import-export modules provide RMS users ways to transfer data into RMS. Users may need to transfer data into RMS for document submissions, copying contracts, and data sharing. Users may need to export data from RMS for reporting and record-keeping reasons. So to get to the import-export module, the government user will log into RMS and open their contract. From the contract menu, the user will then select the Import-Export tab and then choose the appropriate submodule. So let's get started with the Import P2 module. So as you know, all contracts are linked to a P2 project. Now in RMS 2.38, users were able to manually import from P2. However, RMS 3.0 has made the P2 interface an automated exchange of data. There is no longer a need to manually import P2 data or schedule an import time. RMS now includes a server process which keeps all districts up to date with the latest P2 data. So let's move on to the Import QA Deficiencies module. Now, when manually entering many QA deficiencies is not an efficient use of time, the Import QA Deficiencies module provides the ability to import large numbers of deficiencies with the use of a batch input file. The deficiency input template, which is in an Excel format, is used to create a batch input file that gets imported into RMS. The Excel format gives the users the flexibility of getting multiple deficiency data into RMS at the same time. So to import the deficiencies, users must first download the deficiency input template by clicking on the Download Template button. When prompted, users will select where they want the template downloaded. Once chosen, RMS will then start downloading a zip file that contains the instructions on how to correctly enter data into the Excel template. So be sure to read and follow those instructions. Now please note that this file must be saved as an Excel file for it to be imported into RMS and not the old CSV style. So after you extract the files from the zip folder, you can then start entering the data you wish to have imported into RMS. Now failing to correctly enter the data into the template will result in an import error. So here is a preview of the template along with the rules for using the Excel template. I will not read all these rules, but I encourage you to take the time to read this information. Now, one reminder, if an activity number entered does not exist, RMS will not import a link to that activity. Therefore, please ensure that your activity numbers match what is in RMS at the time of import. After downloading and populating the Excel template, the next step is to assign a QA rep. When you click on the blue field for the QA rep, a staff member lookup menu will pop up. Scroll through the list, select the QA rep, and click on the OK button. When ready, the user will then click on the Import Deficiency Items from Excel button. A window will appear, and the user will search for the completed template, select it, and click on the Open button. If the template was correctly filled out, a screen will appear and state the number of deficiencies that were imported and the contract number, indicating that the import was successful. Now, if the number of items in this pop-up don't match what you think it should, that means that the template has a blank cell in column A. You will need to ensure that there are no blank cells in column A for the import to be fully successful. Lastly, you'll click on the OK button to acknowledge the successful import message. Okay, once the deficiencies have been imported, users can now go to the corresponding QA report to review the items uploaded under the Deficiencies tab. In order to see your recently uploaded items, click on the Deficiencies tab, and under All Deficiencies header, click on the blue box next to All. You'll also be able to see that the total number of deficiencies and their statuses by viewing the QA/QC Summary Module's QA Summary tab, as seen on this screen by clicking on any of the sort tiles under the Deficiencies Issued by QA section. Okay, next we're going to move on to the Import Submittals module. Again, as a reminder, to get to this module, open your contract, click on the Import/Export tab, and then select the Import Submittals module. The Import Submittals module was designed to allow the import of large numbers of submittal items with the use of a properly completed Excel template. It is the contractor's responsibility to load submittals and submit a submittal register to the government for approval. Now, both the government and the contractor can download the Excel template and add submittal items. Government users should check with your district's policy on using this feature. Now, like importing QA deficiencies, click on the Download Template button and follow the instructions to accurately complete the template. Select the submittal register you want to import to. Now, when uploading your template, prior to submitting any transmittal items, users can click on the Overwrite Existing Submittals radio button to import the new submittals. For subsequent uploads, select the Merge with Existing Submittals radio button. If you select the Overwrite option, all existing data will be removed and replaced. This includes all transmittals in the transmittal log. The next slide will show you the warning notification if you choose the Overwrite option. As I said, here's an example warning notification that you will receive should you choose the Overwrite option with existing transmittal log items, and you click on the Import Submittal Register button. Here we see an example of the Import Submittals Excel template and the rules for using it. Again, I won't read each of them, but I will point out a few reminders. First, if there is no delivery order, task order number for your contract, leave the delivery order cell blank. You can see that up here in the upper right-hand corner. Second, entering the wrong contract number, delivery order number, will prevent import. Third, the contract ID can be entered in the contract number cell in lieu of the actual contract number. And then lastly, the title and location field is optional and does not import anything. Now remember, prior to pushing the import button, users must first select whether they want to overwrite existing submittals or merge with existing submittals. Once the appropriate option is chosen and the import has completed, you will receive a message stating the number of items that were successfully imported. Note, as with the QA Deficiencies import option, if the number of items in this pop-up doesn't match what you think it should, that means that the template has a blank cell in column A. You will need to ensure there are no blank cells in column A starting after cell A8 for the import to be fully successful. Okay, next we're going to move over to the Import Real Property module. Again, as a reminder, to get to this module, open your contract, select the Import Export tab, and then the Import Real Property module. Import Real Property module was designed to allow the import of large numbers of real property data with the use of a properly completed Excel template. Now click on the Download Template button to download the real property template zip file. Extract the files from the zip folder to reveal two files, the blank template and a PDF of instructions for filling the real property template. Now it's important to note the import mode determines if the real property data being imported will overwrite all existing data, or if the real property being imported will be merged with the existing real property and must be selected prior to pressing the Import Real Property Items from Excel button. If the option to overwrite is chosen, all existing real property items will be deleted and overwritten with items being imported. Once the file has been imported, this action is not reversible. Any real property items being overwritten or deleted cannot be recovered. If there are any existing real property items, then it is recommended that the Merge into Real Property Item option is selected. Now lastly, when the file is ready to import, click the Import Real Property Items from Excel button. Locate and select your completed file and click on the Open button. When the import process is completed, a success alert will display showing the number of real property items imported and the contract ID. Now note, as of the presentation of this training, the function to export real property to Excel is still in development. Again, here's an example of the template and the list of instructions for completing it. Again, I won't read all of them, but I will make a few reminders. Again, leave the delivery order Excel blank if there is no delivery order or task order number. Reminder that entering the wrong contract number will prevent import. The contract ID can be entered in the contract number in lieu of the actual contract number. And the title and location Excel field is optional and doesn't import anything. So let's move on to the import from another contract module. Again, open your contract, select the Import Export tab, and then click on the Import from another contract module. Now, the import from another contract module was designed to allow the import of contract data from one contract to another. Now, start by clicking in the blue field next to the title, Copy from Contract. This will bring up a lookup field listing all contracts to select the contract from which you would like to copy data. Then choose the data from the contract specified by checking the boxes next to the areas from which to copy the data individually, or use the check all or uncheck all buttons to select and deselect all options. Now proceed with caution, as this action cannot be undone. Any data in the contract will be overwritten by the data from the copied source. So if you are copying the submittal registry from another contract, but your contract already has a few items in the submittal registry, those items currently in your submittal registry will be replaced by what is in the source contract. So for that reason, it is recommended that this module only be used at the start of a contract or before any data has been added to the module you wish to import from another contract. Now, once completed, RMS will post a pop-up letting you know the copying has completed. Okay, so now let's move on to the Export Mods List module. Again, open your contract, and from the contract menu screen, select the Import Export tab, and then click on the Export Mods List module. The Export Mods List was designed to add the ability to export a list of all the modifications for the contract. The Export Mods List has two options: export to file and export the data and export to clipboard. Executing the export to file option will export the data in a standard text file. After clicking the button, a Windows Save As dialog window will display for the user to confirm where the file should be saved and the file name. Now, the Export to Clipboard option will copy the data to memory as if the user was doing a copy and paste action, after which the user will need to open a document of their choice to paste the data into. When using either option, users are presented with a pop-up explaining which form the data is formatted for. However, since the file is a text file, it can be opened using either Notepad, Word, or imported into an Excel file as seen on the next slide. So here's an example of the mod listing that was imported into an Excel file. It is delivered in a text file format so users can use the data as needed. Seen here, the data was then imported into an Excel spreadsheet in the upper right view using the export button and pasted into Excel as seen in the lower left view by using the copy button. Next module we'll discuss is the Import SpecsIntact module. The Import SpecsIntact module was designed to allow submittal items as well as the specification sections to be imported into the contract in bulk with the use of a SpecsIntact generated text file. SpecsIntact software was created by NASA and can be used free of charge. Now remember, it is the contractor's responsibility to load submittals and submit a submittal register for government approval. A SpecsIntact file is an efficient and easy way for the contractor to load both the specification sections and the submittal items at one time. Now, when you open the Import SpecsIntact module, you will see a list of previously added SpecsIntact files in the data grid. Now, though it is the contractor's responsibility to submit the submittal registry and specification sections, the government also can add or preview the files prior to importing. To add a new file and initiate the import of submittal items and specification sections into RMS via a SpecsIntact generated file, you're going to click on the Add button in the upper left-hand corner. Doing so will display an open dialog window. From here, locate the text file that was exported from the SpecsIntact file and click on the Open button. Now, after uploading the text SpecsIntact file, a preview of the submittal register and specification sections will load in the SpecsIntact Import Edit view, as seen on the next slide. If you need to review and approve the file the contractor has uploaded, simply double-click on the appropriate file to see a preview of the data contained in the file for your review. Once the file has been uploaded, it must first be reviewed prior to import. To help confirm the data being imported is accurate, the Edit view displays useful information about the contents of the file being imported. The same view is also used for a selected file that was already uploaded. From the top left, you can review the submittal line item count, the reviewer count, and the section count. Using the options in the top right will allow the users to first choose which registry the file will import into by clicking on the blue tile starting import to. Once the correct register has been chosen, the next option is to choose how to import the file. Like the submittal registry import, you can either replace the information in the register or merge into the existing register. And like the submittal registry import, using the replace option will delete any existing transmittals that have been submitted to the government. Toggling through the primary tabs on the lower portion of the view will also provide detailed information contained in the file. Now, the Submittal Items tab displays information about the submittal items being created from the uploaded file. The Sections tab displays information about the specification sections associated with the submittal items. The Reviewers tab displays the reviewers parsed from the uploaded file. And the SpecsIntact File tab displays the uploaded file in its raw format. Now, after reviewing the information in the uploaded file, select the register you'd like to import the items into. If the contract only has one submittal register, this step can be skipped. Next, click Merge into Register to add items from the file to the already existing items in the contract, or click Replace Register to delete all existing contract submittal items and replace them with the items being imported from the SpecsIntact file. Now, after a successful import, a final confirmation will display the number of sections and items imported, regardless of whether you choose to merge or replace. The next module we will cover is the NAS SDEF module. The NAS SDEF module was designed to be able to import a contractor's schedule data as well as some financial data like pay activities and invoices into RMS with the use of an SDEF file, which stands for Standard Data Exchange Format. Use of this module over manually entering Use of this module over manually entering pay activities and activity schedules makes for a more efficient way to keep track of the schedule to ensure the contract remains on schedule by providing one place where the government can review and approve any changes made to the schedule. It also provides a quick way to then update the contract schedule and activities within RMS. To view or use this module, government users must first set up the contract in the Contract Setup Submittals Schedules tab and choose the Import Early and Late Start Finish Dates from Contractor's Network Analysis System option from the drop-down menu. The SDEF section view lists all the SDEF files previously uploaded to RMS. Each row displays a few columns of data for quick reference. The data date, as indicated on the SDEF itself, the schedule type is manually indicated when uploading the file. The date imported is created or updated automatically when the file is imported. The date invoice imported is created or updated automatically when the financial data from the SDEF is imported into an invoice. The SDEF file is the file name, and the approval status indicates if the file has been requested for import, approved for import, or not requested. Now, only one file at a time may be in the approved status. If a file has already been imported and a new file is being requested for import, the previously imported file's status will change back to not requested. However, you can tell it was imported by looking at the date in the Date Imported column. Clicking on the Add button initiates the SDEF data file import wizard. From the Add view, click the Select File button to initiate the Windows Open dialog and select your SDEF file. After locating and opening the file, information about the file is requested. You're going to select the file type. The type of schedule chosen is based on the district office contract policy. Now, RMS will import the SDEF the same way, regardless of which file type is chosen. Okay, the data date field is filled automatically based on the information from within the file. File version is a subjective numbering system as determined by the contract, as is the project ID. It is recommended that these two fields be descriptive of what is being imported. When the project ID field is entered upon upload, that becomes the SDEF file column information. Now note, typically, the contractor completes the steps to upload the SDEF file shown here, but it may also be done in government mode 2 if necessary. Okay, so once the SDEF is uploaded, the contractor can then request acceptance. After reviewing the file by using the preview data import into contract, you can choose to either approve the request to import or reject the request to import. Now, clicking on the approve request to import will approve the SDEF, enabling the contractor to be able to import the data. Clicking on the reject request to import will prevent the contractor from being able to import the SDEF file. And one thing to remember is that only one SDEF may be approved for import at a time. Now, on the SDEF import file preview screen, the Activities tab gives you a quick preview of activities and their dates. The Calendars tab gives you a brief view of changes to the contractor work week calendar. And the SDEF File tab shows the contents of the SDEF file. Okay, so this view is displayed after you click on the Calendars tab. RMS shows what calendars the contractors have assigned to the activities. This view is displayed after you click on the SDEF File tab. Again, RMS will display the text version of the SDEF file. Okay, the preview data import into contract provides a preview of how the data being imported from the SDEF will affect the data that currently exists in the contract. It's important to note that this button does not import the data into the contract. Now, the preview import earnings into payment displays a preview of financial information extracted from the SDEF and imported into the latest progress payment invoice. After clicking on the preview data import into contract, the SDEF activity import preview view displays where users can view the following information. Now, in the top section, RMS shows what changes, like activity added, activity will be deleted, will be processed. The middle section of the data preview displays a read-only view of the information associated with the pay activity that was extracted from the SDEF. By highlighting any row of any of the activities in the grid above, this information will change to reflect information specifically for that item selected. Now, the bottom third section of the data preview contains additional information about the data contained within the SDEF, including subcontractor codes to be added to the contract, features of work to be added to the contract, and a grid of CLIN balances, including SDEF data, which is comparing the current CLIN balance to the sum of the total SDEF activities linked to the CLINs. Now, finally, the Import SDEF Data into Contract button in the bottom right-hand corner will execute the import process. Now, again, it's important to remember that it is the responsibility of the contractor to import the data into the contract after the government has approved the SDEF for import. Now, on the SDEF Payment Import Preview screen, again, this is after the data has been imported into the contract, you can see the following information. Now, for each activity row in the grid, RMS provides useful information. Activity ID, description, activity amount, SDEF earnings to date for invoice, and payment status. Now, probably the most important is the payment status column, which indicates how the data will be treated. It's important to note that only the earnings of matching pay activities will be imported. The rest will simply be ignored. Now, when reviewing is complete, click the Import into Invoice Number button, and the invoice will be imported into the contract. Now we're on the SDEF Activity Import preview screen. Once the import has been approved, the user, typically the contractor, will click on the Import SDEF Data into Contract button. Once you've clicked this button, a warning pop-up window will appear and asks if you want to continue. The user clicks on the Yes button, and at this point, RMS will import and overwrite all information as shown in the previously reviewed screens. Once the import is complete, a pop-up window will appear notifying you the import into contract is now complete. Okay, the last module we're going to talk about today is the Document Package Export module. The Document Package Export module was designed to provide the ability to export documents from various document packages throughout RMS. Users can select one or more document packages to download. Now, when exporting documents, you need to first decide if you need only signed documents. If so, check the Include Signed Documents Only checkbox so that the rest of the options will be filtered for signed documents only. After selecting some options, others will become read-only. So, for example, all documents in QA Daily document packages will make the QA Daily reports only read-only, since the option to export all documents will include the QA Daily reports. Now, when your choice has been decided, click on the Get Documents button to determine the folder to which you like to export the documents. A pop-up window will appear, and you will navigate to the desired export location and click on the OK button. Now, depending upon the number and the size of files and your internet connection, this process can take a while. But once the export is completed, a pop-up window will appear displaying where the files are located. Simply click on the OK button to acknowledge the message. Okay, so in summary, importing data into RMS provides an easy-to-use, quick and efficient way to set up, add, or change data in contracts. Closely read and follow template instructions and guidance for imports. All templates will download in a zipped format and must be extracted to be used. Please use caution when importing data. Please remember that the Overwrite Replace option will delete all existing data in RMS, whereas the Merge option will keep existing data. Review SDEF imports to ensure that any resulting changes in data are accurate and intentional. And lastly, remember there is a difference between SDEF upload and SDEF import. Uploading an SDEF does not mean the data was imported yet. Okay, so here are some additional resources available to you on our YouTube channel. So this will wrap up today's presentation. I'd like to thank everyone for attending, and at this time we'll open up the floor for any questions that you might have.
Well, I'm not hearing any other questions, but go ahead and feel free to drop off. If you do have a question, you can always reach out to the RMS PMO or the RMS contractor, help desk ticket or what have you if you're experiencing something specific. But go ahead and reach out to the RMS PMO and we can hopefully direct you to the right to the answer, or if not, we can find that answer for you. So anyway, thanks for attending. Have a good day.